Hello, I'm Richard Campbell. I'm from the Agile Business Consortium, where my responsibility is for the development of Agile certified learning products. What that means is we research how projects are being developed, how we are analyzing business problems, and turn that into learning products that can be taught by training organizations throughout the world. That APMG accredits those training organizations and provides an examination environment such that those certifications are of value to employers throughout the world. With tens of thousands of people already practicing Agile Project Management version 2, there's a great value in moving up to version 3 because business agility, which underpins AgilePM version 2, has moved along such a long way since it first came out in 2017. Some of the areas of leadership and culture, they need to be re-examined and work out how's the organization moved on? How should managers, project managers in particular, interact with people, the new styles of team, their techniques that they need to use need to be adjusted too. In moving up to version 3, you're going to be in a position where you've got the skill set to work with a modern team to move forward and still benefit from all the advantages of Agile project management. Technology development such as artificial intelligence impacts so much about our way of life. Many projects, for a start, are going to be about executing artificial intelligence into an organization. Equally well, the project teams themselves need to use artificial intelligence in order to achieve the outcomes that the business is trying to achieve. How are you going to use the right process, the right approach that's going to take best advantage of both of those? You've got to adapt and learn. That doesn't change. It still requires a project manager to be thinking about how to use this technology, but the rate of change is changing so quickly. Vital, however, that you think this through properly, learn from what other practitioners are doing in order to be able to run your project and get the outcomes that your business wants. When we look at modern business, and for that matter government as well, the rate of change is overwhelming. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity is everywhere. Previous management science was far more oriented towards a fixed status in the way that we are approaching the problem. That's no longer true. We need a different set of tools now to be able to embrace and welcome the change that's going on, as well as encouraging everyone else in the organization to know how they're going to cope with this volatility and still feel like they are making progress. Doing nothing is no longer an option, if ever it was, but all too often you become almost stuck in a position of what do we do next? Well, the idea is you've got to adapt and learn, continuously reevaluate, have you made progress, what have you learned, and then make decisions as to what the next step is. This is business agility. You've got to embed that in everything you do. The heritage of Agile Project Management, or Agile PM specifically, comes from best practice in industry. We look back to the period where British Airways, British Telecom, Oracle, IBM came together as a consortium to say, is there some best practice which we've each individually developed, which in combination is going to give us a really good blueprint, a framework from which we can build systems, products, deliver projects more effectively than we can by simply inventing this ourselves. This is the heritage of Agile PM. What we at the consortium have done ever since then is work closely with those project practitioners who've taken the certification, gone into their organizations and tried to deliver using this approach, work with them to see what's worked, what's not worked, how we can improve it, so that the project management approach develops. So it's vital that you, as a project practitioner, can learn from what is best practice out there in the industry. And going on an Agile PM course is a very good way of getting you started. It teaches you the vocabulary, where to go to ask the right questions, so that your learning continues and it isn't static. You need to keep learning and find better ways of implementing projects as you go forward. So when I'm asked what are the best Agile tools for project management, I think my answer might surprise you. It sits between your two ears. It's the ability to think creatively. It's your ability to question. It's your ability to probe and understand and seek understanding and insight from the people around you. Whilst we see rapid expansion of technology in so many different directions, yes, these are very useful tools, and there's any number of bits of software that's going to help you here, there, and everywhere. Ultimately, it's the agility between your ears, your ability to communicate effectively with people, the ability to collaborate with your team, and get the commitment to deliver the outcomes that the business is seeking. So over the last 10 years, Scrum is by far the most successful or most largely adopted approach to delivery of products and projects globally, particularly in the technology sector. However, it is not a project management approach in its own regard. Neither is it a way of managing the product management lifecycle. What you need is a way of bringing that together so that what the business is trying to achieve can be delivered effectively through Scrum. What Agile Project Management does in version 3 is use the language of Scrum, or rather empower the project manager to be able to talk the language of Scrum so that they can align the activity of Scrum teams within the overall objective, the outcomes that is being sought by the project. So, as a result, a big part of the course is teaching the project manager how to work with Scrum teams effectively, how to organize them, but not just Scrum. There are other teams within most organizations who are using other approaches too, and you need to be able to use different language according to the nature of the team. If they're using Scrum language, you need to be able to talk it, but equally well, you need to be able to talk in common sense language to explain the purpose of the project so that you can make progress. In the Agile world, there's a lot of momentum moving towards product management lifecycle and using agility to manage backlogs and to deliver products in a rapid way, responding to market demand changes. However, many organizations think about their delivery not in terms of product lifecycle management. They think about them in terms of distinct projects which have a finite delivery time frame, a specific project, and very distinct outcomes. There's an interplay between a project and product management. And what's important is you need to understand how your organization thinks and apply those two ideas so they interplay appropriately. In Agile Project Management, we talk to this directly. There are many different ways of those two concepts working together, and what is important for you is to work out what fits your organization so that you get that correct balance. Responding to change in most organizations require thinking, constructive, critical thinking. But when there's so much change, it's no longer feasible, if it ever was, for that critical thinking to be done purely at the top of the organization, and then for that change to be directed downwards. In a modern organization, what we need to do is to empower as many of the brightest people in our organizations as possible, those closest to the problem, to do that critical thinking in order to direct where change can be managed effectively by the organization. And the job, therefore, of the organization is to align the overall objective. Where are we going? Who are we serving? With the brains of the organization closest to the problem, telling us how to address that change, identifying creative ways of responding to it so that the two things come together to get the overall effectiveness of the organization working correctly.